Hello everybody, good evening, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and it's your Friday night show. I hope you're all doing well as we talk more drama. The manager madness continues and we're going to have a little bit of a different approach to it tonight because we are actually going to talk about what if. What if Ten Hag did lose his job? Where would I go? I mean, we've been talking about it for a long time. It's a Friday night show. The Friday night show is always a bit different. So Goldbridge is actually going to accommodate the thing I don't want to accommodate. And I'm going to tell you which coach I would go for if the stupidity did occur and we did get rid of Ten Hag. There are also some stories coming out as well involving Zerbi, involving Potter, involving Zidane, and also Ten Hag under fire again from another ex-player that hates United. This time it's Fabregas. We'll talk about that as well. And also very interesting piece on Berrada. Omar Berrada, the new CEO of Manchester United. Interesting piece in the Times talking about his involvement at Man City in the price tag of the players they bought, which to me might be quite a minor thing for you, but it's absolutely huge. I mean, if this guy was involved in the price tag for Man City, he can be involved in the price tag for us because we're terrible at it, and Man City have always been very, very good at it. So lots to get into on the show tonight. Of course, it's Friday night. Fly in. It's completely up to you. We should be able to give away some free memberships as well because as a member... as the owner of the channel, we tend to get, at the start of the month, we get some memberships that we can gift out. So we should be doing that as well. It's not Harry Potter gems. I wish it was. It's Graham Potter. But look, what I just want to do this at the start, just in case the Ten Hag in brigade think I've jumped ship. I haven't. It's 100 games for Ten Hag in the Manchester Derby on Sunday, and whatever happens in that, he will still have the best win ratio of any Manchester United manager in our history. Yeah, my thoughts exactly. What is this movement? Seriously, what is this movement? I'm not saying by the end of the season we might have lost 10 games in a row and he gets the sack. Look, let's see what happens in the summer. But a Ten Hag out movement now, I find incredible. And look, you've got to respect that some people might think he's not the right guy, but sacking him now, as I said last week, shocks me. It stuns me that people think we should be sacking him now. Best win ratio of any Manchester United manager we've ever had. That would be ridiculous. You know, I wouldn't have even said sack Moyes, even though I didn't want him if he had the best win ratio. I'd have said, look, you've got to wait for it to go wrong first. It's your boy Calv's been a member for 59 months. You're an absolute legend, mate. Thank you very much for this. But look, Kaiser says, let's stop the nonsense. We have the City game this weekend. Mate, I wish I could stop the nonsense. You've got The Guardian talking about Zerbi. You've got The Independent talking about Zidane. You've got another outlet talking about Graham Potter. All today. I mean, it's just relentless. And, you know, I think that I want to talk about other things tonight. I want to talk about the Berrada thing. I think it's really interesting. But on a hypothetical sense, can I just say that, and I'll repeat it again, if INEOS think that they can bring Graham Potter into this football club, then I'm terrified. In fact, it's Friday night. I'm shit scared. Because you are not, you know... How do I put this in a polite way? Are you just not listening to United fans then? Because you're just glazers with a British passport if you do that. You know, this whole you know better thing needs to be proven. Don't come into the club saying you know better, because from Sir Jim and Sir David Brailsford's point of view, Nice has not been a rip-roaring success. Berrada's only just got here. He's not been a CEO, he's been a COO. And Dan Ashworth worked at Brighton and Newcastle. So let's not pretend you've assembled a dream team and this is the end game and you can ignore fans. Graham Potter would terrify me as Manchester United manager. And I'm 99.9% it's pure bollocks. Because I don't think INEOS's approach is to run roughshod over fan opinion. I think they're very aware of fan opinion, and I think they're very aware of doing things that make them appeal to fans, which is what they've done so far. So I do not think for 1 minute they're going to appoint Graham Potter. But if they did consider it, I will tell you for free, he will be laughed at, mocked, and disliked from day one. Much the same as he was at Chelsea. The media will not go for him because he doesn't have the CV. The fans will not go for him for many reasons, mainly that the job is way too big for him, like it was at Chelsea. And thirdly, we don't want a coach that just coaches the players while some committee signs and sells players. That has never been successful at the top level. So why is it suddenly going to be... This is not the way to get Man United back competing, to come up with some new idea that you get a manager in who's just the coach and then you have a committee that deals with all the transfers. This is bullshit. This is not the way to run it. So Graham Potter is no. A big no. And I liked Potter at Brighton. I really, really did. But we need to stop talking about it, or we need to talk about it loudly that we don't want him so that INEOS know it, because he is not a Manchester United coach. I mean, I actually thought when he was at Brighton, Villa. And that was before Villa were good. I thought Villa would be a good promotion for him. When he got the Chelsea job, I was like, this is really interesting. He had no charisma at all in interviews for a start. The dressing room stories I could tell you about what went on at Chelsea are terrifying, and they're well sourced. And ultimately as well, he could not get players that he bought, apparently, which he didn't, to play for him. This just needs stopping. I don't mind talking about Nagelsmann, and I don't mind talking about even De Zerbi, but I will not tolerate Potter in any way, shape or form. It's terrifying, absolutely terrifying, that people even consider this to be a thing. And look, you can vote on it. Would you want Potter to be your manager? Yes or no? Get in the chat. But look, all it really seems to come from is that Dan Ashworth worked with him at Brighton, right? I've had loads of jobs where I've worked with nice people who are a good laugh. Doesn't mean I'm going to give them a job on the United stand. Like, you know, absolutely not. Absolutely not. In fact, I worked with a really good lad when I was in banking. Really good laugh. Really, really good laugh. And knew a bit about football. But he was a Liverpool fan. So he's not. I wouldn't give him a job anyway. And I feel like that about Potter. No. Absolutely not. And also it symbolises another story that came out about De Zerbi. Now, I'll talk about De Zerbi. You can get on with the Potter stuff. But I'll talk to you about De Zerbi. I don't want De Zerbi. I don't want De Zerbi, and I'll tell you why I don't want De Zerbi, right? Because again, he's another coach that works under a transfer system. This is Manchester United, not Brighton. Brighton recruit coaches who coach teams in a specific way of playing and have players given to them and players sold above them. The manager, De Zerbi can't say we're not selling Trossard. The club will just do it. De Zerbi can't say, oh, let's go and buy this player. The club will just do it. De Zerbi is a coach who is given players, and that's how it works. I don't want that at Man United. I don't want a puppet put out twice a week on a press conference who's got no fucking clue about who's going to be sold and who's going to be bought. We're Manchester United. We should not be run by a transfer committee. We should have the best managers in the world. The Ancelottis, the Pep Guardiolas, the Jurgen Klopps. That's what the Sir Alex Fergusons. This is what we need in charge of Man United. Charisma and know-how. Not some puppet on a string being told who's going to be sold and who's going to be bought. You know, that's too hands-on for me. We want a coach who knows what they're doing. De Zerbi hasn't shown that yet. He hasn't shown he's that capable. And I'll tell you for free as well, he's not going to be a Liverpool coach. All these people who think, well, Liverpool are interested in him, they're not. Liverpool are not going to go for De Zerbi. And Liverpool won't go for De Zerbi for the same reason we shouldn't go for De Zerbi. He's proven nothing as a high-level coach. He's proven nothing in relation to coaching high-level players. And also, he's proven nothing in relation to running transfer budgets and being involved in recruitment. He is a coach of Brighton, and he's done a really good job in his first season, and it's been a challenging second season. But at best, I don't even think he's an upgrade on Ten Hag. I just think he's Graham Potter again. He's just not British. He's done a very similar job to Graham Potter. Graham Potter was doing very, very well at Brighton. I look at Brighton this season, and all right, they haven't lost as many games as us. We've lost, how many games have we lost this season? We've lost 10. They've lost 7. But they are 5 points behind us, and we've drawn 2. They've drawn 9. Potter drew. I remember Potter at Brighton. He used to draw loads, and people would go, if Brighton didn't draw so many games, they'd be a lot higher up the table. Well, again, they still draw a load of games. For me, De Zerbi needs to do another season at Brighton, because I don't know. He's too much of a red flag. First season was good, but was it first manager bounce? How good's Ange going to be next year, by the way? People get too... Look at Ten Hag, first season. This is what I mean. I'm not convinced on De Zerbi. I think first season was really good. Second season, or same as us, they've had a lot of injuries. But he's also been battered a few times by teams like Luton. So I don't go for De Zerbi. I really, really don't. But what I will do is I'll answer the question, because there's no point. The reality is that there's lots and lots of stories about manager replacements, which I find incredible. As I said, it's a media witch hunt, and we've got to be very, very eyes wide open to it. The media are pushing this, and they want you to bite. They want you to jump on the old Ten Hag out movement, as we know. But let's hypothetically say, and it doesn't have to be that Ten Hag gets sacked. Imagine Barcelona say, we appreciate you, we want you. You could go to, imagine Ten Hag says, I'm off to Barcelona. So whatever, doesn't matter. Let's just pretend Ten Hag leaves in the summer. Okay, we're in that world now. Where would I go? Because I can't just sit there crying saying, please don't go. He's gone, right? Ten Hag's gone. What would I do? Well, it ain't, and I'm happy to have this conversation. I think anybody is. Whether you're Ten Hag in, Ten Hag out, Ten Hag shake it all about, I don't care. Where would you go? Because I don't want the manager to go. I think we need to build something here. We've got young players coming through. We've had loads of injuries. I think we build something here. But look, there's rumours, let's be fair. If Ten Hag goes, where would I go? It bloody ain't Potter, and it ain't De Zerbi for me. There's two coaches that really stand out for me at the moment. Nagelsmann and Alonso. Well, Alonso's not going to go to Man United. We may as well forget about that. He's really exciting. I mean, I put my hands up again. It feels a little bit like Ten Hag when we had Pochettino or Ten Hag. I wanted Ten Hag because he was the up-and-coming manager, and absolutely stand by that. But even if you don't stand by it anymore, I would imagine you still would pick Ten Hag over Pochettino back then, because at that time he was the hipster coach that you wanted to be the next big thing at Man United. So, I wanted Ten Hag over Pochettino, and Alonso is a very similar excitement around him, and I get that. And Alonso looks like he's a really, really good coach, but he's not going to come to Manchester United for a multitude of reasons, the biggest being that he's an ex-Liverpool player, he's an ex-Bayern Munich player, and he's also Spanish. So there are three big options for him. He can wait around for the Real Madrid job, he can go to Liverpool or Bayern Munich this summer. He's not going to come to Manchester United, never in a million years. So you scrub Alonso off. That leaves me with Nagelsmann. Hansi Flick, I think, is a little bit too risky. I've never really been into that. I look at Hansi Flick and I just don't see the authority. I think he'd come in and the media would just be like, who is this guy? Like they did with Rangnick. I don't think our local media would get Hansi Flick. I think they'd be like, who is it? Who is he to come to the Premier League? So, and we've seen that with Ten Hag. It's a battle every bloody week. So I think Nagelsmann would be the person I would go with. But as I've said before, the problem with Nagelsmann is that he's a bit of a busted flush in the sense that he's managing Germany until the end of June, and we need to do transfers from May. And I don't want a coach that walks into the club as a puppet on a string and that, the board say, Julian, we've got rid of these players and we brought you these players. I need a manager that's involved. I need a manager who's part of it. And that sometimes worries me a little bit about Ten Hag, because maybe that's why the rumours are there. Maybe INEOS want a puppet. Maybe they want a puppet manager that is the coach and is not involved in transfers. But I think this is a big, big mistake. Look, I would love an Ancelotti. There are other coaches out there, but realistically, I don't really see any options this summer as well. And I have had this open conversation with those who want to get rid of Ten Hag, and I've said, look, please give me something. Give me a really good alternative. I'm not going to go for it, but I can respect your opinion more if you give me a really good alternative. And I just can't see one that's glaringly obvious. Look, with Van Gaal, Mourinho was waiting for that job, and he was still hot. And it was, it was really exciting. And I was panicking that they were going to keep Van Gaal and miss out on Mourinho. I was really panicking if you were watching the channel all those years ago. But at the moment, I don't sit here and go, I want Ten Hag to stay, of course. But, I know, people like Faz are Ten Hag out. But I don't like listen to him as somebody who's part of the community and go, you know what, he's got a good option there. You know, he's been going on about Zidane, and Zidane's never going to come. And I think that's the thing. There's not really, for me, a really good, viable alternative. Look, if Ancelotti was available, I'd be like, sod it, just do it for 2 years. But I don't feel it. And I've got to be very, very clear on this. De Zerbi just doesn't do it for me. It's just too many risks with De Zerbi. And you know, he's never managed a big club. He's never managed recruitment. He feels very much like Potter to me, just not British. Yeah, I don't fancy De Zerbi at all. I don't think it's and I think if you're going to get rid of Ten Hag as well, I think this is the most important thing. If you're getting rid of Ten Hag, it's a risk. You know, as I said at the start, he's got the best win ratio of any Man United manager, and he's not been given structure, and he's had a load of injuries. If you sack Ten Hag, you're doing it on a guess, because you might be getting rid of somebody that, with a good summer, could bounce back really, really high. So it's going to be a risk to get rid of Ten Hag. So if you're going to do it, you've got to do it on a dead cert. You've got to do it on a sure thing. Don't do it on another guess. And that's what I feel. Getting rid of Ten Hag is a guess, and whoever you replace him with in the market, I think, is a guess. Don't do that. If you're going to get rid of him with an absolute banger, like we did with Berrada. You know, he's a really good replacement for Arnold. I would go for Girona's coach, says Mario Franco. If INEOS won't pay 20 million for Ashford now, I can't see them paying out Ten Hag and paying off a club to a new manager. I hope. Director of football is more important, says Wheels. What if that type of coach is the one that Omar Berrada wants, says Vino? Well, yeah, look, I accept that. I've always said that new owners coming in do sometimes want their own man. I do think they need to take into account, look, the big thing that I hang my hat on, because that's a great point. Krista's gifted a membership, by the way. The big thing I hang my hat on is that Sir Jim Radcliffe's meant to be a Man United fan, not a Chelsea fan. You know, he's a lifelong Man United fan. Well, if you're a lifelong Man United fan, I presume you've been watching us for the last few years, and why would you not be with the majority that don't want to sack another manager? So that's what I'm hoping. After Rashford video, I'm Ten Hag in, says Kyle. How come? And the players would eat him alive, says Carlos Potter. Tony says we need to give Ten Hag time. He needs the structure above him to truly get the best, and also ship out some players and get quality ones in, says Tony. Hi Mark, please could you give a shout out for Tony Whitehead, as he's had a rubbish day and I know he's listening. Thank you. Big shout out to Tony. Hope you're doing well. Chin up, mate. Big up, Tony. Media still don't like Ten Hag. This needs to stop, says Daniel. Any news on Ashworth, says Ash. I think they're still working on the deal, mate. Hopefully that will get done soon. I mean, we're into March, but it's still only the 1st of March, so hopefully that can get done soon. I'm Ten Hag out, but if it's De Zerbi, then I'm Ten Hag in, says Impa. Yeah, look, as I said, I think that I don't see a viable option. It's a gamble to get rid of Ten Hag, and then you're going to bring a gamble in. Why would you do that? And the money, and also, I don't want to talk about money, but if it's a gamble to get rid of Ten Hag for 20 million, and it's a gamble to bring in De Zerbi for 20 million, you've just spent 40 million. And it's a great point. De Zerbi won't be cheap from Brighton. So, but people, this is what I mean. I really do think that we know the score. We know the rules. We know the rules. The rules are here. The media are trying to force Ten Hag out. They're trying to say to INEOS, you need to change your manager. The media are trying to push a story here. But what they're not doing is, because they never do this, is they're never providing you with the true facts. It costs money to get a manager, and it costs money to get rid of a manager. It won't be De Zerbi. It costs too much money. I think De Zerbi's release clause is about 20 million quid. And to get rid of Ten Hag's probably about 10 to 20 million quid. A risk for a risk? I can't see it happening. Potter's free, so that might be why they're looking at him. Fucking hell. Oh. And Nagelsmann might be free as well. But Mark Ogden says it will take 14 million to sack Ten Hag. That's a lot of money. 40 million's a lot of money. 14 million, sorry. It's still a lot of money. And you've got to get rid of his backroom staff as well. So, yeah. I don't want it to happen, but if it was going to happen, as I said, I'd probably go Goldbridge in, says ZLK. If you're putting me on the spot, and I'm not really on the spot, I can do a hypothetical. If you're asking me who I'd go for from who's available, it has to be Nagelsmann. But you know what? He's a big risk as well. He's a big risk. Bayern Munich, it went really badly. So again, even though I'm saying Nagelsmann, I'm still getting rid of Ten Hag on guesswork to bring Nagelsmann in on guesswork. That's not good business. I can't see for the life of me INEOS doing that. You know what? Actually, if we're being honest, based on what INEOS have done so far, I can't for the life of me see them getting rid of Ten Hag, because it's going to cost a lot of money on a lot of guesswork. When you look at it financially, it just doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. But look, we'll see. I guess we'll see. It was, but I'm happy to have the hypothetical conversation. I mean, that's what we're here for, isn't it? Interestingly, 87% of you wouldn't want Potter as manager. I mean, look, I know a few Chelsea fans. I know a few people at Chelsea, and I wanted Potter to do well at Chelsea as an experiment that we weren't doing. He's an English manager, did well at Brighton. I was very interested in how it went. He was disliked from day one. Like, the fans never took to him. They never did. And it would be a bloody disaster here. People arguing for a new manager have no concept of financial implications, says Goldio. Just brainless fans wanting to try and shine a new toy every week. Get real. Harsh words from Goldio. Harsh words. I'll tell you what, though. I want to talk to you about Berrada in a moment. But talking about harsh words, I don't know whether you saw this earlier on. Fabregas sticking his nose in the beehive now. It seems to me at the moment that, you know, Carragher was stood there on Monday morning, jumping around like he's on a bloody trampoline, thinking that he's solved Man United's tactical problems, when most of us have been talking about them for a long time. And now Fabregas has jumped in. And look, Fabregas was a good player, but he was a prick as a player. I mean, this is a guy that threw pizza at Sir Alex Ferguson at Old Trafford. I mean, knobhead, basically. The day I take any fucking advice from him on Man United, you know, I'd rather listen to my dog while it's having a shit than listen to Cesc Fabregas or Jamie Carragher about Man United, because I don't trust them. I think that they're obviously good footballing minds, but I don't trust them because they don't like Manchester United, so I don't trust them. You know, if they gave me a chocolate ice cream, I'd think it was shit, because I don't trust them. I'm certainly not going to lick it. And I think when Fabregas says this, I don't know. I mean, look, he was a very technically good footballer, so I'd imagine he's got a good footballing mind. But this is just, to me, pouring petrol on the fire. It's not anything constructive. So he said about Ten Hag, I don't know his game plan. I don't know if he has a structure. I don't know what his message is. At least with Solskjaer, there was a plan. Defend well and have great breaks. And I've read it back a few times to see if there's any hidden knowledge in there, and there isn't. It's just pure inflammatory nonsense. I don't know his game plan. I don't know if he has a structure. I don't know what his message is. At least with Solskjaer, there was a plan. Defend well and have great breaks. Mate, I guarantee you now, Fabregas has not watched Man United more than 3 or 4 times this season. I guarantee you now, look, do retired Man United players sit there watching Arsenal play every single game? Some of our ex-players don't even catch Man United games. So you're telling me that Fabregas has watched Man United consistently this season? Of course he bloody well hasn't. He's watched Fulham last week. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about Fulham last week. And the fact that he says Solskjaer had at least Solskjaer had a plan. Fabregas, for me, is outing himself as a complete and utter imbecile here, because Solskjaer's plan, as we all know, was the most basic football plan in the world. I could tell United to do it, and so could you. At least Solskjaer had a plan, defend well and have great breaks. What you've basically described Fabregas is park the bus and hoof it. That's not a plan. It's the most basic style of football in the world. Deep, compact, and hit on the break with pace. Moments football. I mean, it was a plan and it did work. But to praise that as a plan over what Ten Hag's trying to do is hilarious. Because even Carragher... Well, actually, let's talk about Roy Keane. Roy Keane said... And he's absolutely spot on. Forget. I've been saying this for a long time. Some of you have been saying this for a long time. But being as we're in I've played the game at territory here. You got Fabregas saying, I don't know his game plan. I don't know if he's got a structure. I don't know what his message is. At least Solskjaer had one. So Fabregas thinks that Ten Hag, as a coach who's been here for 18 months, who's took us to 2 cup finals in 3rd place, hasn't got a plan. I mean, if it wasn't so hilarious, it would be massively insulting. I've played the game, and I'm going to sit on national TV and tell the world that Man United's manager hasn't got a plan. What a load of nonsense. What you actually mean, Fabregas, is the plan's not working. There's a big difference between no plan and the plan's not working. Now, Roy Keane said this week, Harry Maguire is the problem. And he wasn't calling him a bad player. What he said was, Maguire is stopping Ten Hag playing the way that he wants to play. Ten Hag wants to be compact high up the pitch. We saw it against Wolves. We saw it a few times last season. We saw it against Spurs at home last season when we did really, really well. Ten Hag wants his defensive line on the halfway line, and he wants to be compact and press high up the pitch. And he's not scared of the ball over the top because he's got quick defenders and he's got one of the best sweeper goalkeepers in the world. So Ten Hag, if you're watching Fabregas, which I'm sure you're not because you don't watch United anyway, the plan is, and this is why he bought a sweeper keeper, he wants to play a high line defence and press high up the pitch. That's what he wants to do. And Roy Keane's absolutely spot on. The problem occurs when you have people like Maguire and Lindelof in your team where you can't play the high line. And Keane even said this. He can't play the high line because we'll get done with the ball over the top. So we have to drop the defensive line. But then Ten Hag doesn't want to park the bus. He still wants to be proactive. And then you end up with players who are on the ball, losing the ball cheaply and getting broken upon. And that's why Fulham was a bloody disaster, because you've got a deep defensive line. The team's trying to press high. They can't look after the ball, and Fulham break on us constantly. Most of the time we get broken on because we've given the ball away, by the way. That's something that doesn't get picked up by Carragher or Fabregas. So we get the ball and we give it to Fulham, and then they break on us against the deep line. We do have a plan. The plan is very obvious. Yes, you can park a fucking bus in our midfield, but we do have a plan. It's just not working because we haven't got enough players who can play that way. And the only alternative is to go back playing the Solskjaer way, which nobody actually wants to do. Mark, Liverpool seem to have manager options. Bayern too. Amaron at Sporting, for example. We will keep Ten Hag because he's still the right man, says Remy. Krista's gifted 5 memberships, by the way. Absolute legend. And Mark, who would you want in the summer? Striker and centre-back. I mean, I like this I like this chat from Blink because I actually wish, I don't know about you, but I really wish we'd stop talking about managers. Like every journalist at the moment, it's De Zerbi, it's Potter, it's Zidane, it's Nagelsmann, and it goes round in a rotation day after day. Can we start talking about players? I for one, I'm going to start searching. Tomorrow morning's show is going to be about players. Why are we constantly talking about manager? I don't want to change the manager. Some of you do, but there's not that many good options there anyway. We are rotating and regurgitating the same boring story day after day because journalists are trying to build a movement. They're trying to build a movement around Ten Hag out. But they're boring themselves with the same bloody story. Like Zidane was I saw something this morning about Zidane. And then thankfully somebody came out and said there's no way Zidane's coming to the Premier League, let alone Man United. He doesn't want to manage here. But they keep rotating the same story. Why can't we talk about players? I know 3 players that we're heavily talking to at the moment. Todibo, Elise, and we're really interested in Edison at Atalanta. Those 3 players we're really in for. Like really in for. When was the last time we had a story about that? Because no one wants to talk about it. They want to. All the press want to do is get you talking about the manager. Well, from tomorrow morning, I'm gonna give you a roundup on transfers. And the reason I want to talk about transfers is because it's March. And the last time I checked, we're meant to be selling about 10 players, which means we're going to buy at least 6. We should be talking about players. We need to get hold of the story here. Because if the manager changes, fine. I don't want it to happen, but fine. But we still need players. We should be talking about players. This is the thing we're interested in. Shut up or carry on talking to yourself about managers. I'm talking about the mainstream media. But we want to talk about players. You're absolutely right. You know, we need a striker. We need centre-backs. On that, the striker one's really interesting. I don't really know what we're going to do with the striker. I mean, answers on a postcard. I just don't know what we're going to do about a striker. Everyone knows we need one. Xerxes been mentioned. Brobby's been mentioned. I don't know what we're going to do about strikers. We have been linked to Osman, but it'll be very, very expensive, 120 million. So that's not going to happen. But centre-back wise, Branthwaite, Tadibo, they'd be. I think at the moment they're the top two. I don't think De Ligt comes to Manchester United. I don't. Any news on Mount? Says guess who? He is. He's training. I don't know how far away he is, but he is training. Nazza, welcome to Members Club. And Olu says, Mark, explain how Nagelsmann was catastrophic at Bayern. Hansi Flick won at Bayern. You can be Ten Hag in and still be objective. Well, I will, Blake. I will, mate. I'm surprised you're asking me a question about this. Explain how Nagelsmann was catastrophic at Bayern. He got the sack, mate, in his first season. I think that's safe to say that's catastrophic. Now, whether Bayern made a mistake or not, maybe that's what you're talking about. But I personally think that, David Moyes getting sacked in his first season at Manchester United on a massive contract is catastrophic. And I think Nagelsmann being sacked in his first season of a long contract is catastrophic. By definition, it was a catastrophe. There may well have been reasons for it. And if you listen to what I said, if I was forced to take a manager this summer because Ten Hag leaves, I would go for Nagelsmann. So I don't know whether you're putting 2 and 2 together and making 10. But Bayern Munich was a red flag for Nagelsmann, if you want him. It was. But I've said, if we're going for anybody, I'd go for him. Because I do think he is a good coach. But the Bayern Munich thing has to be a red flag. It was catastrophic. And there were lots of reasons for it. Look, Drip Football says, do your research. Mate, I don't need to do my research. I know exactly the reasons for it. There was meant to be players that he fell out with. There was issues with the board. A lot of people felt that he probably shouldn't have been sacked. There was talk of his girlfriend leaking information. There's all sorts of rumours about it. But the definition of it is, it was a catastrophe. Like, it went wrong. Why it went wrong? Go and talk about it. And as I said, I would take him if we had to replace Ten Hag, but I still think there's a lot of risk to it. Krista, thank you for gifting a membership, and thank you, Goldio, for that. Rohan's gifted a membership as well, and Robert Anderson says, finally a manager who goes to win the games and not settle Eric Ten Hag in. And Mojo says, Deadwood out, sell Ten Hag, sell 10, get 8 in. He doesn't say Ten Hag out at all. I agree with you, Mojo, and I hope you're doing very, very well. Yeah, so look, it's interesting, but I really do think one thing that we really should be doing more of, and I for one, am not, we'll cover the story if it's genuine, but I'm almost going to draw a line in the sand now and say we need to stop manager talk every bloody day. It doesn't help anybody apart from the press. We should be talking about players. That's what we should be doing. We should be talking about players because, like Mojo says, if 10 are going, 8 need to come in. Well, who are these 8 players? It's March. It's not that long. You should be talking to players now. So I think that we're all far more interested in the people that are going to be on the pitch and who's going to go as well. I don't get why there is this obsession about managers, because people are probably because people are trying to push it. Some sort of trauma or Stockholm syndrome going on. Every single professional pundit and ex-player has said the same about Ten Hag. He's not good enough, says Jamie O'Brien. But you know what, Jamie? I don't really know which side of the fence you are there. But I would say to at the end of the day, I don't really care about ex-players or professional pundit. What's a professional pundit? It's somebody who's played the game. As we know, I've played the game doesn't mean you know the game. Doesn't mean you've got a good opinion. It was only when Ten Hag and Pochettino were going for the job, 2 or 3 ex-United players said Simeone. Based on what? Mr. 40% possession. I mean, Simeone's, somebody said to me Simeone today and I went, you do know how his team play. Yeah, but I think he'd change at United. Well, again, massive guesswork. Can't be doing guesswork. Simeone, his football is very, very, very dry. It's low possession against the best teams. So look, that's your ex-players for you. And all I would say back to those ex-players is, if he's not good enough, why did he finish 3rd in the Champions League and get to 2 cup finals? If he's not good enough, why has he got a higher win ratio after 100 games than any other Man United manager? I'm not saying you're wrong, but can we prove he's not good enough instead of guessing he's not good enough? Because that's the line for me at the moment. I'm not saying that people are going to be wrong about Ten Hag, but can we at least prove it first? You can't be sacking a manager with that sort of a win ratio after 100 games, and you can't be doing it on guesswork. Let's at least get to the end of the season and see what happens. I personally think if we're patient, by the end of the season, we'll know the answer. But let's not guess. We will know. We've still got to play Man City at the weekend. We've got to play Arsenal and Liverpool. We've got to go to Brighton. We've got some tough games to come. There's plenty. We've got Liverpool in the Cup. There's plenty of games there where it will get proven he's not good enough. I just think we need to... I don't want to do it on guesswork. I don't want decisions to be made on guesswork. Tony says, if we sack Ten Hag, what happens to the progress we've made for the young players? It's a good point, Tony. And Abdirahman says, talking about the new CEO, should the priority be that we will sell Toxic and other players, and then we talk about the manager matter as well? Well, I don't want to talk about it tonight, but I've said this before. How do you sell players when you bring a new manager in? Because a new manager will naturally want to give them more time. Great content, Mark. I believe Erik Ten Hag needs the INEOS summer transfer. Get the right players in and then judge him from there, says Rob. And Krista says, we must give Ten Hag time now. Get the bad players out of the club. Fantastic show. Thank you very much, Krista, and thank you for your generosity. Mojo's gifted 20 memberships as well. Thank you very much to Mojo. Chicarito says, would you bring TUSFC career mode back? Miss the young and Peacock midfield, Proctor, the Doctor, Goldbridge and Kent, and can't forget Willem's mum. Says Chikorito. I don't know whether it's a bit too niche, Chikorito. I might do. We'll see what happens. Arthur Morgan says Ten Hag's win ratio is one big... I don't know what that word means, so I'm not going to read it. Watch you all religiously all the way from Texas, says Rene. Thank you very much, mate. Hope you're doing very well. Appreciate that. Mark, I hate statistics except the ones that affirm my biases, says GM. But I do hate statistics, but what you're doing there is you're taking a statement and you're trying to make it, fit everything. It's a bit like Cinderella's shoe. Like Cinderella's shoe fits Cinderella. It doesn't fit anybody else. And statistics, for me, are a very niche thing. The eye test, Well, remember these stats that were going around on Wednesday night about Bruno? And people were retweeting it going, my captain. He didn't have a good game. Stats lie. But you can't win ratio is not really even a stat. Win ratio for a manager is pretty bloody important. Pep's lived off it for his whole fucking career. A win ratio is not deceptive. You win games, you lose games. Sometimes you win games you don't deserve to win, and that gets praised as good teams win when they don't deserve it. Sometimes you lose games that you deserve to win. Doesn't help your win ratio, does it? I think a win ratio is very important. I do. Of course it is. The more games you win, the higher up the league you finish. The more cup finals you get to. Of course it's important. I don't think you compare win ratio to chances created, which fucking nobody seems to understand what that is. Can't wait for transfer roundup. Think positive, says Terence. Yeah, we're back on that. Tomorrow morning, I'm getting back on fucking transfers. Screw all this. Jan, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. I'm going to gift some in a minute. But I want to talk to you about Berrada. This got me really excited tonight. Hopefully it's not going to be too niche for you because I really got excited about this. So, it's in the Times, which is a pretty good paper in the UK. Joel and Avram... This is not exciting, but it's the start of the story. Once upon a time, Joel and Avram Glazer flew to the UK from the US to interview Omar Berrada alongside Sir Jim Radcliffe and Sir David Brailsford for the CEO position at Manchester United. No other candidates were interviewed. This is good. It's either lazy or he did really well. And I think with INEOS involved, he obviously he did really well and he got the job. Omar Berrada's supporters say one of his greatest strengths is that he does not overextend himself in negotiations. He knows when to pull out of a deal, one colleague said. Never gets anyone pregnant. That was a bit... if you know, you know. The point is, he knows when to pull out of a deal. And this is going to be really big for Manchester United. And this is what, might be a little bit niche, but look, it shouldn't be. Over the years, and it terrifies me how long we've been doing the United stand, by the way, because I can remember being in a London hotel room doing a video on Lozano when he was in Mexico. I mean, how many years ago was that? I mean, I think I remember doing a video on Jesus when he wasn't at Man City. Schweinsteiger and Schneidlin. I was in London. Yeah, I mean, we've been doing this a long time now. A long time. I think it's 10 years. I think it's 10 years this summer. I've got to double check. Long time. Anyway, all over those years, we've done so many transfers. And my point is, I can think about countless deals we've done over the last 10 years and we've spoken about on this channel in this amazing community. And I'd say 95% of the time, we've not pulled out. We've paid too much. I can't remember us walking away. Funnily enough, the only deal I remember us walking away from was the wrong deal, Perisic. We didn't want to pay any more than 40, and Inter Milan wanted 44, and we walked. And we should have paid 44 for him. We really should have done. I think he would have been a really good signing, and we might have had a different future with Mourinho. I think Perisic at that time would have been a good signing. We did walk. We very rarely walk away. Look at Alexis Sanchez. Look at Harry Maguire. Look at Paul Pogba. You know, there's been so many. Anthony. So many deals we've overpaid. So to have a CEO that isn't afraid to walk away, absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And it also goes on to say that, well, it doesn't go on to say that. That you can deduce it very, very easily from it. The ability and power to walk away means that this is the guy that basically sets the price. So really, 2 + 2 should equal 4. Not Matic, Ricky. It should equal 4 in the sense that we shouldn't be seeing any more Harry Maguire, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Paul Pogba, Jadon Sancho, Anthony, massively overpaying deals. Harry Maguire, we should have paid 64, not 80. Anthony, we should have paid 54, not 80. You know, Martinez, we should have paid 35 for, not 47. There's some of those players are good players. It's not them as players, but I'm really excited about this because the less we pay for players, the more money we have for other players. And I look at that summer with Anthony, and it's a case example in itself. With Anthony, we paid 80 million, and he wanted Gakpo as well for 25. Any other club would have got Anthony and Gakpo. We just got Anthony. And I mean, you might not think Gakpo's that good, but I actually think he's been a reasonable signing for Liverpool. You put that Gakpo into Man United, he'd be one of our best players. Now, I wouldn't say he's been amazing at Liverpool, but Liverpool are a bloody good team, and he's done well. At United, he'd be our best player. So, look, that's what I mean. If you've got someone like Berrada in, that's the difference between getting Anthony and overpaying or getting Anthony and Gakpo. And that'll be massive for us. Absolutely massive. I'm just about to gift 5 memberships, so get ready. You might get lucky. Here we go. First 5 are going out. He says, okay, we've got another 5 coming up as well. Get ready. This is why you need to watch a Friday night show. There we go. Another 5 going out for you as well. Legends. Thanks everyone who is a member, by the way, and supporting the channel. Really appreciate it. As you know, get in the chat with your badge. Get your badge in, your legends. Right. Yeah, so I think that's absolutely huge. You know, I know it's the business side, but you can't pretend that you're not interested in the business side. Cheers, Mark. I'm having a Carlsberg. Don't ban me for that, says Andreas. Absolutely fine. Drinking game shot every niche said, says Nick P. And I'm really confident. Remy says, I'm really confused why folks want Ten Hag out. Fantastic first season. Injury hit second. Seriously, people get a grip and give the man a third season. And you know what, actually? Here's a story for you. Interpret it how you want. Simeone is the highest paid manager in the world. No player at Atletico Madrid can earn more. If so, his wages is raised to go over it, says Jan. But let's play a little bit of a game here, right? I liked that comment about Ten Hag having a good first season, because we all know he did. But we all know he's had a bad second season. So riddle me this. If Zerbi is a candidate for the Man United job, and Ten Hag is a candidate for the sack in some people's minds, tell me what the difference is between Ten Hag and Zerbi. Zerbi had a good season last season. Ten Hag had a better one. This season, we're above Brighton. Okay. People are going to jump in and go, Brighton are better than Man United. Since when? Since when? The season of Rangnick, Brighton wiped their arse on us right at the end of the season, and Brighton were better than us. That's the worst Man United Premier League side we've ever had. In the summer, we bought some players, but we didn't suddenly become better than Brighton. We just finished above Brighton. I don't think Brighton are better than Man United is my point. I think over the last 3 years, you could argue that Brighton are better than Man United. So we finished above them last year and we're above them again. But I don't see a big difference between Brighton's squad and Man United's squad. What I'm saying is you can't have it both ways. Oh, we need to get Zerbi because he's doing a good job at Brighton. But I think he's got better players. I'm constantly hearing that Man United's squad's shit. I think Brighton have got better players than us, and they certainly play a better system because they all know the system and they've got loads and loads of players who know it. So why are we going for Zerbi? Man United's a bigger name than Brighton. Man United's a bigger club than Brighton. But over the last 2.5 years, maybe even the last 3 years, Brighton are a better team than us. But we're going to get their manager who's below us in the league last year and this year. I know there's different ways of reading that, but that's what I'm saying. I'm just throwing it out there. You know, we've got a really shit squad apparently. Our players aren't very good. Brighton are better than us, but we want their manager who we're above anyway. Make it make sense. Not sure why fans are stuck with this saviour complex that there is one manager or one player that can come in and fix it all. I mean, this is it, Kia. This is it. This is it. No, we've tried the manager. We've tried the signings. You know, we've had the Mourinhos, we've had the Van Gaals, we've had the Pogbas, we've had the Sanchos. This is the player. This is the manager. You know, there's a lot of work. There is a lot of work to be done at this football club, and we need to take that on board. And I think we all know this, actually. I just don't think we talk about it. We whisper it, and we should whisper it, because it's not fair to really say it with any semblance of volume. INEOS might not succeed. Why are they going to succeed? Why are they? We might be already. The job might be impossible. It might be impossible to make Man United succeed with the Glazers still owning half the football club. It might be impossible to make Man United succeed with over £500 million of debt. You know, whisper it, we might not be able to get back. It might not be possible. Berrada did a really good job at Man City, but he had a shitload of money coming in from the Middle East. They didn't have any debt. They had a brand new stadium. They had a world-class coach. Just because we've got Berrada doesn't mean we're going to be successful. It might not work. What I'm saying is, the job is massive. I was listening to Pep Guardiola. I never really listened to him, actually. I think he's right up his own arse. But the way he was talking, you know, I think he was talking in a way that he doesn't actually expect us to get back in 2 or 3 years. You know, he's sort of saying, you know, Sir Jim Radcliffe knows better than me. I don't really know. If he's saying 2 to 3 years, then that's what you're looking at. But I don't think he looked like a guy that thought it was going to happen in 2 or 3 years. I think there's so much, and also it's like you know, have you ever played like I suppose like it's not Jenga, because Jenga starts off as the big thing, doesn't it? But you know, like I used to play this quite a lot when I was bored. You get dominoes and you build a domino tower. And you try to use all your dominoes and get the tower built. But it gets wobbly near the top, and you've got to build good foundations. And if one thing on the way up is weak, the higher you get, it will fall. And that's what United and INEOS have got to do. They're building from scratch, but they've got to make sure that every level we level up is firm on strong foundation. Because you might get to level 8 and then realise, shit, what we did at level 3 is shaky, and then it all comes down. If we've got to get it right every level, and that's a challenge in itself. Every decision you get right is vulnerable to getting one wrong, and getting one wrong could be selling the wrong players, keeping the wrong players, sacking the wrong manager, bringing in the wrong director of football, waiting too long on the director of football. You know, there's so many things they've got to get right. And I actually think, and I've said it a few times, their job is enormous. I mean, you can't do it, but what if you had a percentage of the chance that you think, or a bet or an odds, what are the chances that INEOS are going to take Man United to a title in the next 5 years? I don't know the answer to that question. I wish somebody could tell us, because I think we'd be more realistic with it. Now, INEOS won't tell us because they want us to believe and get positive and get behind it, and that's fine. But imagine if you could pull a hypothetical, not a hypothetical. Imagine if somebody could say, "Nah, the chances of Manchester United winning the title in the next 5 years is 22.3%. Well, if it was 22.3%, you'd go, fucking hell, that's not very high. Or maybe they'd go, yeah, we've run through the numbers, and Manchester United is a sustainable, winnable force with the right people in charge and the right decisions. We therefore predict that in 5 years' time, there is a 75% chance that Manchester United will win another Premier League. Well, that's good. That's good. I don't know what it is. You don't know what it is. I can't predict it. I'm not going to predict it because I don't know what they're going to do in the summer. I don't know what they're going to do long term. But if I had to throw it, I'd probably say the chances of Man United winning a Premier League title in the next 5 years is around 40%. Being positive, 40%. I don't think it's a 50-50. And that's just being respectful and realistic of the volume of work that needs to be done. Hopefully, in over the next, even over the next 6 months, that 40% might become 50%. And then in a year's time, it might become 60%. But it's going to fluctuate, of course. But from where we are now, if anybody's saying, oh, I think there's a great chance we're going to win a title in 5 years, of course, the thing we're going to always look back on is the last 10 years where we've been told this many times before. But look, they're making the right choices, but I think we have to remember the gravity of the job is massive. If we had gotten Poch and it was going bad and Ten Hag was available, we'd be looking for him to come in. Give him time, says Patrick. Eddie says, hello to Luke and Dan Smith and welcome to the United Stand. Tammy, although Eddie listens to me a lot, he does sometimes listen to you also. The private chat going on there. Louise has gifted a membership. You're a legend, Louise. And Kia's point was absolutely fantastic, of course. Now let's vote to Zidane. People, Eric Ten Hag, English is bad, but damn, Zidane doesn't even speak English, says Royden. I think there's a couple of things we're going to do here tonight. From tomorrow, we're actually going to start talking about players, because I don't know about you, but the manager thing isn't even for now. I'm not even interested in it. There's loads of games to play. Let's see what happens with it. But players is important. Outgoings and ingoings. And this manager talk just distracts us. I mean, I was listening to the Rashford interview again today, and there was a really interesting thing in there. Maybe Beth spoke about it yesterday, but I'd missed it. And he basically was talking about, you know, if people knew the money and, you know, offers that we turned down to sign for Man United. And I was like, fucking hell, what's he been offered then? I mean, I presume it's PSG. And I was thinking, you know, there's interest in our players, you know. I'm not saying sell Rashford, but I'm just saying, like, you know, we shouldn't be talking about hypothetical managers that are in guesswork. We should be talking about this team that we know a lot about, outgoings, incomings. There's so much to talk about. And also, I think we all agree to never talk about Zidane as the manager again. Even Faz has given up on that now. Like, the Zidane talk, the story's never changed with Zidane. He's never bothered to learn English, and he's always said, I don't want to manage in the Premier League. And it's still the same today. So, and even if you jump those insurmountable hurdles that he doesn't want to manage here and he doesn't want to learn English, even if someone kidnaps him and throws him into the United dressing room and he's just speaking French, the other killer is he doesn't want to manage a club that's on its knees that he's got to rebuild. He wants to manage a club that's ready to go. And yeah, I think let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of the Zidane story. and let's focus on players, because there's so much to talk about players. And I think there's some really interesting conversations about who needs to go and who doesn't. I mean, Fabrizio, I've got to be fair, I wasn't told this by Fabrizio, and, you know, we have Fabrizio on the show. I was basically, I saw it this morning, actually. I think he'd said it yesterday. There's a very high chance that Varane will leave Manchester United for free in the summer. I've been saying to you for weeks. I don't have an inside track on this. Fabrizio maybe does. I don't have an inside track on this. This is I'll tell you when it's guesswork, and I'll tell you when I get told something. This is pure guesswork, but I have been saying it for weeks. Varane walks out of this club for nothing in the summer, the same way De Gea did. It's just a smokescreen that he might sign another deal. He's not going to take a massive pay cut when he can get more money at another European club, or he can go to Saudi. So Varane's gone in the summer. Whether that's right or wrong is interesting. I don't think he can play 2 games in a week, but if he plays on Sunday, he's just done that when we've got an injury crisis, and suddenly you're going, why are we getting rid of Zidane again? I think Zidane needs to go because he can't play 2 games a week. But if he's suddenly doing it now because Maguire's out and Martinez is out, then why are we getting rid of him? Because he is our best centre-back. So why are we getting rid of him? That's what I mean. The conversations are not as easy as you think they are. You think you have a solution, and then suddenly you don't. I mean, some of you want to sell Rashford. He'll score the winner at the weekend, and then you'll be like, I don't know. I don't know. So there's lots to be said. Jay Woods just gifted a membership as well. And that sort of concludes the show for tonight, I think. I've really enjoyed it. I love the Friday night show, as you know. And we've got a big weekend. I'm back in the morning. I'm going to do a roundup in the morning of what's going on with all the players that we're linked to as well, because I think that's not been done for a while. And there is some interesting stuff around Edison at Atalanta, actually, that's nobody seemed to have mentioned in the last few days. So I'll give you an update on that. I've said Zidane instead of Varane. I meant Varane. It's Plan B says we need to stop the manager talk. Well, we can. I mean, I'm happy to talk about it if it's credible, but I think we're just going round the media agenda. I mean, even the Ten Hag outers, you must be frustrated with it, because it's so obvious that it's a media agenda and they just keep rotating the same story. It's De Zerbi, it's Potter, it's Zidane. Oh, Nagelsmann. It's the same 4 people all the time. And what they won't tell you is, and I'll leave you with this, what they won't tell you about De Zerbi is, 1, Liverpool aren't going to go for him. And that's in every article. And 2, he's got a massive release clause. Massive. And Brighton do not get screwed over. I like Evan Ferguson. Forget about it. They'll get 100 million for him. So, yeah, it's a waste of time. Big weekend, Manchester derby. Sort of putting it out of my mind at the moment because I think we're just massive underdogs. But as it gets closer on Sunday, I'll be ready for it. Marvin's not tired of it. Well, I'm tired of it, Marvin, because I don't mind talking about it, but I'm tired of talking about the same shit story over and over again. If it's something credible, we'll talk about it. If it's in a news show, we can talk about it. But if it's the same news, it gets very repetitive. I'd rather talk about something new, which is why I liked the Berrada bit. Very interesting. Take care, everyone. Have a fantastic evening, day, or whatever you're doing. Legends of always. Thank you for all the members and all the badges in the chat. Really appreciate your support, as always. Well done if you got a gifted one as well. 69 gifted memberships tonight. Good number on a Friday night, 69. Anyway, on that bombshell, I'll speak to you all later. Take care.